Welcome to Be the Light 365. I'm Pastor Jake. Today we're going to talk about letting it go. You know, in Psalms 55 says, and 22 says, "Cast thy burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." In other words, when we give something to God, we should let it go. You know, in my life, I have never done that. I used to give it to God and turn around and dwell on it for hours and days and months of things I should have let Him just take care of. In the beginning, that's what His job was. That's His job. He takes care of us. And I've stressed this a lot in my ministry, is that we have to let God. He's the one that takes care of us. We just supposed to help other people. That's our job. But what we do is we have a problem and we give it to God, and then a few minutes later we're taking it back out of His hands, piece by piece by piece, until He doesn't have it anymore. And then when it falls through, when we have a problem, when everything goes awry, we say, "God, why didn't you do something?" He said, "Well, you took it out of my hands." And we do this every time. I've done it. The Israelites were bad about this. They came out of Egypt, and they weren't even out of Egypt a day, and they started complaining about wanting to go back to Egypt. They kept dwelling on the past. They kept dwelling on, they thought the good life, even though it was harsh and bitter to them, they still wanted to, they'd rather have that. And that's the thing with God is, God says, "Well, I'll let you have what you want, but you won't like it." And that's why we have to give it to God and let it go sometimes. Not just keep dwelling on it. Not just say, "Okay, God, I'm letting you have it, but I'm going to think about it. I'm going to dwell on it, and I'm going to worry about it." You know, God talks about worrying. He talks about worrying in the Bible. He says it has no one stature to you. In other words, it does not help you one bit to worry about anything. Matter of fact, He says it's kind of a sin because you're worrying about it and not focusing and trusting Him. That's why that the second part of that verse talks about it. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. But we have to be righteous. In other words, we have to be right standing with God. That's what righteous means. We cannot be with the world. We cannot be dwelling on the world. We cannot be hanging out with a girl. You know, as I always say, you can't be married to God and date the devil. That's why you have to, you know, stand right with God and trust His words. You can't change His words. That's not your job. If you don't like God's words, then you got a problem anyways. If you have any problem with the Bible whatsoever, then you need to check yourself. God said, matter of fact, Paul talks about this. He said, you know, check the spirit inside you. Because if something's not right, then the spirit is Jesus is the Word. It talks about it in John 3:1. It talks about, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In other words, Jesus is the Word. He's also God. You know, like I said, I usually don't like that. I like to just tell people more positive stuff. But sometimes I have to even do this to myself, is that I have to let things go. I have to be in the right standing with God. I have to I have to trust in Him 100%. I cannot give Him half of something and then wonder why the other half's it's not working out. You know, God always talks about the promises He makes. He makes promises to people. He makes promises to all of us that He will help us as long as we're with Him. Are we going to have tribulation? Yes, but it's how you take the tribulation. It's how you go through stuff. He said, in one of them, He says, you know, He doesn't test nobody. In James chapter 1, He talks about this. He says, I don't test nobody. He said, you're tested when you're drawn away by your own lust. And that's why we got to let it go. Give it to God. Don't pick it up no more. Walk away from it. I hope this helps out for some people. I know it helps out me, because sometimes I have to tell myself this. God's got it. God's got it. God's got it. You know, I do it 3 times because Peter, he had to say it 3 times. He denied God 3 times, and he had to say God, he would help feed his sheep 3 times so that he would remember it. Y'all have a blessed week, and I hope y'all like this and subscribe. Thank you for watching.